Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We have Olivier, Stephen, Lisa, and myself. So, yeah, let me just kick it off with saying Matt, I believe, is on vacation. He was just out at Lyon. Olivier, did you attend Matt's presentation?
Yes.
How'd
He
it
was
go?
tweeting about it.
Sorry?
I saw you were tweeting about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I sent a few pictures. There's one from Vicky taking another picture, so you have some kind of perspective on the making of. So the presentation was good, but not really crowded. As you can assume, in those events, there are many side tracks. So there were a few questions, and we distributed a few stickers. So that was overall good. And the best part was me meeting Matt. So we had the chance to discuss a lot of the integration with an LMS, what I've given as a project to my students, and other matters about the future of Antidote and so on. So it was really good to meet him. And I grabbed a lot of stickers that I can reuse, probably distribute in Paris next month.
Excellent.
And saying hi to Vicky, and also discussing other matters like KubeVirt or kata containers with people on the summit. So that was good.
Oh, nice. So there was no meetup? I'm sorry.
No, because it had been too complex to set up, finding people, finding a place, and also Matt was quite busy with his toddler. So we just met in the afternoon inside the summit, and no outsiders, no new people.
Okay.
I'm sorry, about how many people were in the session?
A dozen, I would say.
Okay.
That's not bad.
The room was much bigger, but I guess it was comparable to attendance in other rooms.
Yeah, events are weird now. It's hit or miss. I did OpenStack several years in a row, and one year it was, it was like not that, like 1,000, maybe 800, maybe end users, and then the next meeting was, well over 2,000 end users, and then the next one was 500 end users. Like it's just, and then who attends what meetings is very strange, right? So some are standing room only, and some are 1 year and then they're not the next. But dozen is good. It's dozen people that got the message, right?
I assume so.
Hopefully. Well, thanks for the update. I'm glad that you, at least some of us were able to meet you in person. I'm jealous, actually. I would have loved to have been there.
Next month in Paris. Supposedly my talk was accepted, so if you can arrange some trip, I can host you at home. It's not far from Paris. No, not the four of you, just Clapton for a start.
Well, maybe, if what are you doing your presentation on?
Just a copy of Matt's, basically. I want to provide, well, maybe depending on the audience, maybe there are specific needs. If people just identify and tell me, oh, I want to know something about Antidote beforehand. But no, I would just reuse his slides, and as I've attended his talk, I can just pretend I'm Matt Oswald and working for Juniper.
Well, you know
Matt
what?
speaking French? You were going to say something, Derek?
No, well, I was going to say that I'll ask if I can fly out and support. I mean, no promises, but I'll certainly try. I mean, I can ask, and if they say yes, I'll definitely.
Why not?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Why not? Um, Lisa, you made a comment. I'm sorry.
No, I was just imagining Olivier as Matt speaking French.
Matt made some progress, but he wasn't as good as to ask for a place to change diapers because we were looking for a place to change his daughter, but
Yeah.
yeah, but I made the intermediary, so everything's safe.
Well, thank you on Matt's behalf.
Yeah, that's important. That's an important thing. So,
And so we visited the VIP facilities next to the big auditorium. So that was nice. But I didn't take pictures.
All right. So what else do we have on the agenda today?
um, we can probably do an update on Batovi. I put a lot inside this status we did on Friday. We could probably grab some of that,
Okay.
go over it, and I will say that just as an update, wow, I gotta hold on one second. I have way too many cables. There's like all over my keyboard and my all over my mouse pad. Okay, I had some issues. I was running 1904 for my dev box with GNOME 3, and I could not get the libvirt plugin for Vagrant to work for the life of me. And I kind of need it because I have an Intel CPU and I'm running Linux, and Vagrant doesn't support Intel nested virtualization. So basically, I couldn't even load self-medicate. I mean, it was that slow. And that, even though I have a pretty potent box, it was very slow. So, and I couldn't for the life of me get the libvirt plugin to work. And I spent several days trying to get it to work. And I ran into Ruby gem version issues, multiple Ruby gem, and I downgraded some and I upgraded some others. And then there was some compiled libraries or some libraries that were too new that were compiled. And in the end, after I did a lot of messing around, I got it to work, but I ended up thoroughly wrecking my dev box. And so I had to completely rebuild it from scratch on 1804. And good news, on 1804, everything works as documented. I typed in Vagrant plugin install libvirt or Vagrant libvirt, and it just worked. Same
Great.
with same with host updater. It stinks that that's the requirement, but one of the issues is that the Ruby libvirt library. This is the whole problem. That the libvirt Vagrant plugin is in danger of no longer being supported because the Ruby libvirt gem was abandoned, and the stuff that 1804 ships with, it was abandoned recently enough that 1804 and prior works fine still with it, but after that things get sketchy. So hopefully Ruby libvirt will be maintained. Someone will pick it back up and start working on it again, but as of April of last year, it's no longer working. It's no longer maintained. The last commit was April of last year. And then also, I know that VirtualBox, I've said this before, I'll say it again, is a significant number of their commits are related to getting Intel virtualization working with VirtualBox, but it's not ready. And it's not clear when that's going to be functional for people, who don't want to do
I've I've checked a bit about those issues because I reviewed the recording of last week where you exhibited those issues. I think that the kernel modules required by VirtualBox are being aligned to the standard kernel module for NFS or for screen sharing, for stuff like that. So I have not checked recently, but I guess it was a bit in between. So maybe in a few months it could improve. But so far, yeah, it's a bit problematic. So I was lucky because on my side it works, but I'm probably in a mix of versions, maybe ones that I install manually or the version in Debian testing or something like that. So, but at least for libvirt it works. But in the end, for an Intel CPU, I think that maybe using Minikube with the libvirt hypervisor would be an option. So Vagrant is fine, but maybe we could think about splitting the scripts, the provisioning scripts in two, so that you can install Minikube, you can install Kubernetes through Minikube and just add self-medicate afterwards. Just add syringe and antidote web and the rest.
Sure.
So that you can use Vagrant if it works. And if not, you just have to use the latest provisioning part after Minikube or after Kind. I don't know if you saw my post in the forum. I have tested Kind also, which is Kubernetes in Docker, which I discovered at the summit last week. And so it seems to work. So I was able to run self-medicate on top of a Kubernetes cluster that works inside a single Docker container, which is weird, but
yeah, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it eliminates a virtualization layer, right?
Yeah. So for performance, it seems to be the best option or one of the best options. Another to use Minikube with the host's Docker engine.
I'll give that Kind thing a try because it's still pretty slow. Self-medicate is, and we got to resolve that. I also want to say on the call that we're running a lot of virtual Juniper appliances, and they have a list of recommendations, which I actually put into as a comment into one of the issues in self-medicate, or it could have been the curriculum repository, but I put into one of the issues at Mad Open there. I compiled a list of all of the suggestions that are made for VSRX and VMX on Juniper's website. And there's 3 different levels of memory optimization that they recommend disabling. Transparent huge buffers, kernel same page mapping, and something called PML, which I can't remember the acronym what it stands for. But all 3 of those are some kind of memory. They're different ways to optimize memory and memory access when you're essentially for applications and VMs in particular. And because we're doing nested virtualization, not only should this be enabled on the host that's running, if you're running Linux, on the host that's running on the hypervisor, on the root hypervisor, it should be actually all disabled inside the VM that we're using. So one of my goals this week is to create a VM that has all of that stuff disabled. all the recommendations that Juniper has for making sure that their devices work as expected and optimally. I'm going to create a Debian or Ubuntu image for Vagrant that has all that, and then we can use that inside of the Vagrant as the base image for Vagrant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other things that they want you to do as well for both VSRX, VMX, and it turns out VQFX as well, because we talked to somebody about this on internally in engineering. You should have 1 gigabyte huge pages enabled as well. And when I enabled that on mine, the random crashes that I was having with VQFX Lite went away. So I think we need to create a VM in Vagrant, a Vagrant box that has all that stuff configured inside the VM as well. Since we're
Oh,
launching.
by the way, I've been thinking about such custom Vagrant box, about pre-provisioning all the Docker images. Because when I'm doing tests with self-medicate, the longest operation is downloading all the images, which is fine for the first time, but which is a pain when you do again the same downloading of the same images. So I was thinking about maybe automatically building a Vagrant box which already contains all the container images pre-pulled, and then maybe it would be a bit big, but that would be better than just having to download again over an Ubuntu box.
Well, another thing we could do is figure out where those images are being stored on the VM when they're downloaded and just mount that as a directory.
Yeah. So there is a Vagrant plugin for packages. Obviously, Ubuntu packages, like you're performing, you start multiple Vagrant boxes in parallel, and you don't want to re-download all the packages, all the deb packages.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there is a possibility to use a cache of, I think it's Vagrant Cachier, like not the cache, but the cache. I don't know how to pronounce. But I guess Vagrant Cachier is not made for caching the Docker repo. Anyway, it's probably feasible somehow.
Yeah, well, I can play around with that this week, just to make, because it has to be done. I agree. Every time you restart that image, I don't have that issue because I have lots of bandwidth, so it takes me a minute to download all that stuff. But I have a coworker who has 6 meg down, and it takes a very long time to download all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll continue working on that.
By the way, I've posted the link to my kind post where I reference the branch where I've posted my experiments with kind, if you want to test that. So it's in the chat. Sorry, Stephen.
Not a problem. Hey, Derek, would you mind posting those recommendations on the VM changes as an issue or on the community site? I'd like to take a look at it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
By the way, when you discussed all those tuning of the kernel and options related to hardware emulation and so on, it made me think about a discussion I had on the Intel booth with Eric Adams, I guess, who was making demos of kata containers. And so it was great to be able to discuss that with some knowledgeable person. And it seems that there are many use cases with kata containers, but some of them are related to particular access to particular devices, like maybe if you want to access some crypto engine in the hardware, if you want to have a secure OS or stuff like that. So you want to perform virtualization with Kubernetes, but you want to have some access to the underlying hardware. And there you need some proper tuning of the virtualization. And so Kata containers helps with that. So I don't know how this could be an interesting feature for what you described, Derek, for the Juniper requirements.
Well, those requirements are kernel level features. Like every single one of them is a kernel level feature. And it's so they're not configurable inside the container. They're not namespaced inside the container. Like KSM is like you disable once it's disabled in the hypervisor, it's disabled on all containers. It's just how it works. And there's every one of their suggestions are kernel level parameters that are not namespaced. So I don't think running it in container will it's orthogonal to those requirements.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit beyond my understanding because yeah, I'm not really into hardware and low-level parameters and so on, but that was my impression. So
yeah, we wanted to do that inside the container, and I initially thought, yeah, we'll just do that, right? And then when I went looking for it, the thing is, the container inherits for those settings. The container inherits whatever the kernel's already set for, and it's not something you can change.
mm-hmm.
So. Okay. Wow, that was that was good. That was a good conversation. Lisa, I'm gonna pull up that document, Lisa, because I know there was a lot of stuff in there. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Oh, of course. My VPN's down, so I cannot access that document.
Which document are you looking for?
The Entity Labs community document, the status document I posted, it was pretty large.
Oh, let me go find it. It should go on the community site, honestly, as well. Community stand-up 10/29 edited and posted. Shared NRE Labs next week's guest. It's open. There were just three items.
No. This is the one I posted in Slack to update people at Juniper.
Yeah, so in the NRE Labs community, oh, okay, never mind. Let's see the previous one. Okay, so NRE Live, pre-blogs, content, no new content, self-medicate, switched over to Vagrant. You're able to get this working. received all licenses and images from Red Hat Ansible to create Red Hat and Ansible Tower images so that they can convert their lessons to NRE labs.
Yep.
Must create images now that Self-Medicate is working again. Working with David Skinner, an ASIC engineer, to resolve an issue that we're having with getting BQFX to run. And you're following up with David this week. Reaching out again to packet pushers. David G is on paternity leave, but when he gets back, we will engage with Axions. Who or what is Axions?
They are a Juniper channel partner in Ireland that expressed interest in contributing to the NRE Labs curriculum.
Got it. Okay. So just noting that both the governance doc and the code of conduct have been completed and ratified. That reminds me that we do need to be thinking about composing a steering committee. All positions except for the technical community leader are open. Matt is the benevolent dictator for 1 year. But we absolutely, people who might be interested in being the technical community leader should definitely raise their hands to be committers. The other steering committee positions include the chair of the steering committee, the treasurer, to make sure that the chair isn't off absconding with funds or you know, buying small islands with them or what have you. The marketing committee lead and the curriculum lead. So all of those positions we need to fill. Minimally, we need to fill the chair and the treasurer. I imagine that the treasurer will be an extremely low effort role, mainly just to review. As I say, it's a second set of eyes on the chair approving bills. And as I say, making sure that the chair is not spending money in the wrong places or in ways that the community would be unhappy with. So think about whether you have an interest in any of those things. The description of all of those roles is in the governance doc. If you can think of other folks who might be interested in participating in that way, also encourage them to raise their hands. We are expecting to hear from the Software Freedom Conservancy mid-November. That's when their next evaluation committee meeting is. That's not to say that we will definitely have a yay or nay at that time. They did say to us that they may come back to us with further questions. And if they come back to us with further questions, of course, it will then be another month before they meet, whether their evaluation committee meeting meets again. So that's where things stand on that. Stats, 800 lessons launched since the last update, excuse me, 811 specifically. We have seen a slight drop in lessons started over the last couple of weeks. We were normally about over 500 a week. We've been seeing under 500 in the last couple of weeks. But hopefully Matt's talk will hopefully goose a little bit more interest this week. Let's see, I think that's it. Yeah, that was from this past week. Yeah.
Anyone interested in any of the roles that Lisa mentioned?
I am not really interested because I am not probably available enough and knowledgeable enough, but I guess in any case, it would be great to have some posts on the community site to just remind everyone for those not attending the meetings and the meetups.
I will definitely post something on the community site. Good call. But really, the treasurer role is really critical and really will not require a lot of time.
This
Go ahead.
Steven, I was looking more into being like a committer or maybe the user community representative. But if the treasurer role needs filled and doesn't take a lot of time, I wouldn't mind assisting in that.
Awesome. Yeah, and there's no reason that one couldn't be both the treasurer and also a committer, for example.
Okay.
I will freely say that the chair role does take a lot of time. So if time is a concern, then that it is understandable that that would not be of interest.
All right.
All right.
Well, when we then post that Steven's interested in the treasurer role, and he mentioned, and the user representative role.
Meaning that the curriculum lead, or?
No, you mentioned additional members such as a user community representative, but that's after all other roles have been filled, you noted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The technical community leader is Matt, and then the curriculum lead may also be another open position.
Yep.
All right. I mean, that's more or less Bitovi. Bitovi is moving along with their, with the work they're doing, and we've identified 3 outstanding issues that they're not going to be able to finish within the scope of the first, I guess, engagement that we have with them this time around. And we're seeking approval to fund another shorter round of funding to resolve those issues.
Yeah. But that said, though, those issues are not major gating issues. I think the work that they've done so far just to bring together all of our various disparate sites and make the site mobile friendly and things like that will be a huge step forward.
Yeah, what they've done is, it looks good. I believe that's viewable inside in one of the, I always forget which one it is, but we should post, or Matt posted that already in the community, I believe, where that's located.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that's I guess that's actually everything that we had to discuss, unless anyone, well, that I had on my end. Lisa, did you have anything additional?
Nope.
Stephen?
I made a pull request into the curriculum for adding in spell checking. I might have one more change. I noticed in my lab environment, app auto-installed a dictionary. I noticed when I moved that over to Travis CI that dictionary did not get auto-installed. But some words I was expecting not to get flagged got flagged. But I have updated the dictionary for all of the lessons that were showing spelling errors. So with the commit, with the pull request, all new lessons or all pull requests to existing lessons would get checked for spelling errors. If there is a spelling error or if a spelling gets flagged but is not an error, such as a technical word, that word can be easily added to a dictionary, which is in the root directory of the curriculum, which would allow the pull request to then pass review or pass the build in Travis CI.
So is this ready to be merged? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, so we moved it from the 1.0.1 to the 1.10, as the 1.0.1 was supposed to be released already, but with the delays, I was able to get the spelling in, so it is ready.
Okay, then we'll just okay, I'll talk to Matt and I'll see if he if we should ask him if that's ready, if he's okay with merging that now or not. Did you add him as reviewer?
I couldn't figure out how to do it.
What's that?
Let me check. I was having issues doing that the other day. Let me try.
Did you do this on a fork of your own repository, or did you do this against the
On a
repository?
fork.
Okay.
On a fork, and then requested merged in. It says no reviewers, and I don't see the option to add a reviewer.
That's weird. Hold on a second.
I can tag Matt.
What's your username on SMK4664?
That's correct.
Okay. I've added you as a collaborator. You should be able to add a reviewer to that pull request.
Okay, it looks like Matt was already added.
No, he was. I just added him. But you should be able to add someone though, right?
Let me check.
Like add me.
All reviewers. Pending reviewer.
So is this the
Is
normal
there
procedure?
there an option I'm missing?
Next to reviewers, there should be like a gear icon.
Nope. Let me log it and log back in.
But we can resolve this off not on this call.
Sure.
Actually, we'll figure that out. But
Sure.
Olivier, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I have a plenty, a couple pull requests on self-medicate. So I was curious if I should be asking for review or if I'm just waiting for someone available to work on that.
Okay, I can. Yeah, and again, you're not able to add a reviewer, so I will review this and merge or make comments. This is the K8S version pull request, and then you have a
There is the one about env variables, which I think could be interesting to add, which allows to customize some variables passed to self-medicate provisioning script, stuff like that. But in general, I'm not sure. Should I wait until someone is on a meeting, or should I just wait? I'm not so sure about the way you prefer to work.
I'll make comments on your changes. I'll just make
Mhm.
comment. I'll review them and make comments. That's how we should do it, right? That's why we have the that's why we have GitHub, and we can chat on IRC.
Yeah, because I see I'm a contributor because some of my commits were approved already. So it means that that's a particular status. But then that's all I can do, right? Same as the previous pull request by Stephen.
Okay, and you don't want to. You want to use a synced folder.
Yeah, that's kind of bug that's on an old version of Vagrant. Hoping that it doesn't break anything for Windows because I tested on Linux. And then I filed a few issues also. So you will see that if you have time. A bit too many, by the way. It's me, Allberger everywhere.
So NFS won't break the Windows. It was recommended if you're running Linux to use the NFS option for sync folders. But that, as you mentioned, it does require NFS to be installed.
Mm-hmm. The sharing is important if you want to have some kind of synchronization, but if it's just to provision the box, the VM with a few files, there is probably no need. It's just an SCP or rsync that can do the trick, provided that it works multi-platform.
Yeah, so the synced folder is for the curriculum, so that when you make changes on the curriculum, those changes are added back into the VM, and you can run the self-medicate reload to pull those changes in automatically without having to run a Vagrant down and a Vagrant up.
Okay.
And I don't have a Linux machine to test with NFS what happens when you don't use NFS. And leaving it empty relies on, it defaults to VirtualBox. So maybe we can make that a config option where you, in the config file. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there are lots of issues. So today I'll go through those and I'll review them, and either I'll make comments or whatever. Hopefully by the end of the week we'll get resolution on at least some of them. There's maybe a dozen there with your name on them.
That would be nice of you.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Okay.
Oh, and I had also something. You maybe remember that I made some experiments with VNC for a graphical desktop. And so it seems that in between the changes that Mad introduced in the description of the lessons, make it even more easy to integrate into Antidote 04. So that's also something that could be merged if there is no side effect like security or something that would prevent and would need more testing. But it would be quite easy from the test I've made to have syringe mock allow to test a VNC connection to an endpoint and running an image that exports the VNC port, which is 5889, something like that, would make it appear in the right-hand side part of the screen. So I may record a small webcast just to make a demo. And but in between, if you want to have a look at the issues in syringe and the curriculum where I documented that, you may play with it.
Okay, I'll have a look at that, but I'm going to be honest. This is more in Matt's domain,
Yeah.
and also there are changes being made with Batovi's work. So I think once all that's settled and their stuff is merged, we should definitely address that. The VNC, the embedded VNC stuff.
Okay. And that's all on my side.
All right. I have to actually go. The elementary school was calling me. I have a feeling I have to go pick up one of my children. But thank you for joining, and I will post the call here into the community forums today.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.